welcome to the channel. In this video, we're going to look at whether or not you should be starting an LLC for buying and selling sports cards, but really it's relevant to any kind of reselling business. What is an LLC? A limited liability company is basically the simplest form of a business an individual can register in the US. So why might an individual consider registering their own LLC just for the buying and selling of sports cards, or really any other kind of maybe trading card or collectible, or even reselling things from like a thrift store or something like that? Now, firstly, none of this is going to be tax advice. I'm not a registered professional at this, but I have just gone through a process of my own to register an LLC, and I'm sharing some of the learning I had along on my own journey. Essentially, an LLC creates a separation between someone's regular personal finances and the ongoing spending and profit making that comes from buying and selling sports cards. This can potentially be really helpful for you for protecting your personal finances, like if there ends up being some legal issue or something or another. Your personal finances aren't part of the equation with your sports card business. Your business and yourself are two separate, distinct things. In addition, if you open a bank account under the name of your LLC, it also makes it easier for you to track the amount you're actually spending and then making, which means that when it becomes time to do the taxes at the end of the year on all of your sales, all your sports card sales, something which platforms like eBay are becoming bigger and bigger sticklers about, you'll only have to pay on the net profit. If you don't have an LLC, it's also the case, but in the mess that's your personal accounts, it can be more difficult to prove how much was actually spent on your inventory. And though hopefully you're still just paying taxes on the net profits, there's a chance you may end up paying on some of those gross profits as well, which you really shouldn't have to be doing. If it's all in your LLC's bank records, it's much easier to be organized and thus easier to save yourself some money on not being taxed on things you shouldn't be taxed on. Plus, on top of that, you become a sports card business owner, and that's just cool. Now, all that being said, this doesn't necessarily mean that opening an LLC is absolutely the best for everybody. But let's look at a few contexts in which this or some other option might be the best. Now, in the past, if you sold less than $20,000 in annual sales on eBay, then you're considered a casual seller, and that income was basically untaxed. However, in 2021, Congress passed the American Rescue Plan Act. And within that law, the threshold for taxable income for the transaction of goods and services was reduced to just $600. Now, originally that shift was supposed to come into effect on January 1st, 2023, but the IRS delayed it by 1 year to January 2024, mostly to give online platforms like eBay more time to prepare for all the necessary changes required for this policy. But unless something happens, starting in 2024, if you sell more than $600 worth of cards on eBay, they will be issuing you a 1099-K form. Of course, eBay has no idea how much you spend on those cards you sold. They only know how much you sold them for. So this record is only going to have information about that. But if you have clear records indicating how much you spent, it should mean that you have less taxable income. For example, if you sold $10,000 worth of cards on eBay during the year and only report that, you'll be taxed on that $10,000. However, if during that same year you also spent $5,000 on inventory for your LLC, plus $2,000 in travel costs to get to a couple card shows that you went to get inventory for your LLC, plus you also bought some equipment to help you streamline your listing and shipping processes for your business, all of these can be counted in your business costs. So in the end, instead of being taxed on that $10,000, you'll just be taxed on whatever the net profit is after you've taken out all of those relevant business costs. Without registering an LLC, a lot of those costs aren't necessarily business costs, they're just your personal purchases, and they won't be subtracted from your net profits. Again, like I said before, I'm not a tax expert, not in the least. Taxes give me a headache like nothing else. But this is just what I've come to discover through my trying to figure this whole thing out myself. In the past, with the threshold of taxable income for the transaction of goods and services being $20,000, it meant that you really had to be a pretty regular and bigger money kind of seller to really need to bother with registering a business. But with this new threshold, it means a vast majority of sports card sellers will likely be needing to pay new taxes. And thus, I think for most of us, there's an advantage to registering an LLC. One thing I should also make sure to mention here is that LLCs are not the only form of business registration. Sole proprietorship, S Corp, and C Corps are other common legal structures that some businesses choose to use. Now, sole proprietorship, however, does not create nearly as clearly defined separations between your personal finances and your business finances. LLCs maybe require a few extra steps along the creation journey, but you'll personally be better protected, and you'll also likely to have less overall taxes due to being able to justify business costs as something separate from personal costs. S corps and C corps aren't really something you'd need to worry about unless your business really became something big. An S corp legal structure would only really be worth considering if the business had like multiple employees and the administrative structure was somewhat complex. Then it might be worth considering. All right, so with all that being said, if you have decided that you do want to start an LLC for buying and selling trading cards, make sure to check out my next video where I'm going to take you through the steps I just recently went through to get this done. Hopefully that's going to be helpful as well. Peace.